He was nearly at the fork in the path, still with 200,000 health. Honestly, I was kinda happy just to have made it this far. Like, I thought we were gonna lose way earlier. But he nerfed our tower's range, and I frantically tried to move his shotgunner within range. Yet, as he reached the final leg of the path, somehow, we took him down. With me having an AI-generated loadout and game plan, against all odds, somehow, the AI actually prevailed. To make such bold choices as to bring no eco and no main DPS either, and somehow have it work out perfectly, it means the only conclusion I can draw is, the AI is just lucky, dude. As a Roblox tower defense game, TDS naturally has some features you would expect. Towers, yeah. Zombies, Over 100 skins, yeah. The game furthers its variety through special game modes, be it limited time events or unique maps with harder zombies. But alongside these basics, TDS has the potential for a lot of very interesting features. I want to look at some of the community's most requested ideas, whether or not they'll ever happen, and explore the potential impact they would have. One game mode that's been discussed frequently, even by the developers, is PvP, presumably similar to tower battle structure. I think this would add a lot of replayability to the game. I feel like it would be a lot more fun to face another person, as opposed to say, just the Fallen King. And this would open the door to some pretty wild modifiers. Something else that could branch off of this is in-game tournaments. I believe this idea was mentioned a few years back, but it's still relevant today. To work, I feel it would probably need an in-game registration system, and logistically that would be a bit of a nightmare, but this would explore a yet untapped segment of the game, giving the best players an actual proving ground besides solo hardcore. In addition to the content, there could potentially be rewards of some type. Hopefully just cosmetics, please don't lock a tower behind this. Maybe special tiers of metal-plated skins, like trophies. Unfortunately, tournaments as in-depth as that are realistically probably impossible, as from a gameplay perspective I can imagine a lot of challenges. Something that seems substantially simpler to implement is a type of sandbox mode. This is an idea that's floated around for a while, with the general concept being an area for the player to just test stuff. Infinite money, access to all the towers, maybe admin-esque commands to spawn certain enemies. This wouldn't be as game-changing as the competitive features, yet it would be a fun way for casual players to get a better grasp of the game's mechanics, and for experienced players to experiment or theory craft. The only real problem is, it's not happening, okay? I'm sorry. Of course, this is just my opinion, but I feel sandbox mode in this fashion would have a bit of a diminishing effect on the game as a whole. Like a separate mode where you can just do anything? I don't know. TDS is a game that takes itself seriously, generally, and I don't feel like a freeform mode like this really fits the game's aesthetic, despite the number of people who have requested it, which is a lot, but not on par with the questions about trading. Like here, hey, please consider subscribing if you aren't. Another highly requested feature, one which actually has had a few indicators of a potential release. However, if a sandbox mode is a little controversial, trading is a pretty divisive topic in the community. But why? I mean, the positives are enticing. As with competitive features, it would add an entirely new facet to the game. Some of the biggest properties on Roblox have trading communities, and if TDS, a game already focused on exclusivity, were to get one, it could majorly boost player numbers. Plus, it would allow newer people to potentially obtain old, previously unobtainable items. Like personally, I really want some of those Halloween 2019 skins. However, some people may not see that as positive, as a part of TDS's identity is gatekeeping. There are instances where the game itself encourages it, such as with the seasonal events. People with rare event towers or skins are a lot more likely to feel upset when the rarity of their item is diminished and everyone can just get it. The issue is more nuanced. Like, it can move the focus from a tower defense game to more of a social hangout game. Although I do feel like that's admittedly pretty unlikely, but food for thought, you know? There's also the little matter of how the system would even work. Can you only trade towers? Can you trade event towers? How much are they worth then? What about golden towers? Can you trade skins? What about the emotes? What will the economy even look like? The potential in a well-balanced trading system is high, but it could also be disastrous for the game, maybe even if it was done right. Naturally, you can never please everyone, but sometimes you can anger everyone with a feature such as duplicate skins. This was briefly in the game and struck me as odd at the time, since there was no apparent purpose for the duplicates. And then you're supposed to be able to refund them anyways, so like, why would you even allow the players to open the extra crates in the first place? I've always wondered if this was a planned part of the trading feature, as that's really the only way it makes sense. If so, it's not a great sign for the future, considering that duplicate skins have long been removed, and don't appear to have a planned return. Unlike Chaos Mode. What is this? I don't know. My guess would be a game mode featuring enemies and environments from all across TDS, maybe in the vein of Hidden Wave, hence Chaos, featuring more experimental, interactive gameplay elements like land wall. slots, or the solar eclipse cannon, as it's been stated that Chaos Mode would utilize mechanics from the Duck Hunt event, possibly including the Defend the Center style gameplay, which would allow for a lot more creativity when designing waves. Personally, the idea of a Chaos Mode sounds pretty promising, as it could incorporate ideas typically outside the limits of a tower defense game, which is kinda true for all of these features. It's fun to speculate, but at the end of the day there's a reason these features aren't in the game. Although hey, maybe one day. Obviously, these are just my opinions though, so leave a comment. Please subscribe if you aren't already, it only takes a second and helps a lot. In Tower Defense Simulator, it can be tricky to get gems. Luckily, a few weeks ago I discovered a new glitch which allows you to farm a literally infinite amount of them, where you don't even need to play hardcore at all, but can rather complete this tactic even as a brand new level 0 player. Now, I already have the 2 towers which cost gems, so I'm going to take this fresh account I made and use this glitch to get a ton of gems and the hardcore towers all at level 0. Now, the method is a bit complicated, so just make sure to follow along with all these steps closely. Firstly, you're going to need to click on some specific towers in the shop. In this order, clicking no others, check Mortar Soldier, Hunter, the Gold Crate, Mortar Scout, Turret Rocketeer, Ace Pilot, and Turret again. Then, while still in the lobby, you need to position your avatar by the hardcore elevators. If you're not level 50, this part is a bit trickier, but you can kinda smush yourself in there. It's a bit finicky, but this next step is much easier. You just want to quickly join a game and place a tower, any tower. Then you just want to leave the game. This is the trickiest part of the gem glitch, as you're now going to want to join the game Tower Blitz. Now, normally you couldn't influence the game by playing another game, of course, but this is a very uncommon exception due to both games being in the tower defense genre. So to get the gems in TDS, you're now going to want to save some sequences in Tower Blitz. Make sure to only click the towers, mark it Elite, Mechanic, Electricizer, Businessman twice, and Sniper 3 times. From there, you want to head back to TDS. As you can see, the UI changed a bit. And now all you want to do is join a game, while making sure you have at least one emote equipped. That tower you placed earlier shouldn't be enough defense, and you should be just about to lose, which is perfect. Just play it out, and then when the ending screen pops up, you have to type in the game chat this exact binary sequence. And as you press enter in the chat, use whatever emote you equipped earlier. If you do it right, the lost screen should flicker for a split second, and then reappear. It can be a bit hard to see, but you should get it quickly. From there, you just want to repeat this process. Copy paste the binary, emote, flicker, etc. Every time the screen disappears like that, the numerical values from the original TDS towers are called, and compared to the Tower Blitz values. This attempts to reset your tower's loadout value to 0, or more plainly, to remove all the towers from your loadout. However, the TDS devs coded a hard lock on loadouts when the rejoining feature was added, so you know people couldn't leave the game and change the towers and come back. So the reset value is instead assigned to the next variable, going from loadout.xce to lostscreen.xce, repeatedly awarding the player coins, which, thanks to storing the coordinates by the hardcore elevator, are now gems. In my case, after joining back to the lobby, I now had hundreds of thousands of gems, and can now easily buy these towers, even as a low-level player. So with my glitched account, I can now confuse a ton of people, and get some wins I should not be able to. Finding this glitch took so long. Thanks for watching, subscribe. Tower Defense Simulator is a very popular Roblox game, with a huge range of creative features like the towers. I mean, you have the minigunner, the commander, and the hacker. Actually, you do not, because this is an unreleased tower, a mysterious unit which hasn't yet appeared in the game, as TDS has a staggering amount of content which just never ended up in the game. Pages upon pages upon pages of teasers and promotional leaks that just vanished. I want to look at some of the most interesting pieces of cut or abandoned content in TDS. One of the earliest abandoned towers was the gold mine. Unlike some other units in this video, I'd say there is a 0% chance of this thing ever being released. The gold mine was only teased a single time in a poll in 2019, where the tower was the least popular option, although the other two did end up in the game. Plus, the described function kinda just sounds like an alternate version of farm, which would make a very weird balancing dichotomy. It's been 3.5 2.5 years, the original Discord message has been long deleted. I cannot imagine this tower will be released. Something that seems more likely to come out are some skins from the catalog of 25 plus teasers. Now some have come out, such as the Ducky Gladiator. However, it was reworked from the duck to a beach theme, and it took a year and a half. Kind of highlighting the problem with all these skins. They seem to take a disproportionate amount of time to be released, and the Pool Gladiator is a rare outlier among the general trend of them staying vaulted. In early 2021, Razutix, TDS's co-owner, announced that Chimera's, John Drinking, and Your Adversary would be focusing on creating new skins and maps for the game, and in the following months, teasers would be posted to the TDS Discord. John Drinking focused on more mature military-themed skins, as well as creating a themed skin crate, starting with the Vigilante series, teased throughout March 2021. There were images of skins for Accelerator, Shotgunner, Gladiator, Mortar, Pyromancer, and Electroshocker, all with a cohesive theme, all still unreleased 2 years later, although I feel these have a higher chance of eventually coming out as opposed to some of the one-off skins, as recently there was a themed crate released in the Cold Front series, and like there's no way they would scrap an entire crate worth of skins, right? Some of the other individual skins he created consisted of Bounty Hunter Cowboy, Pirate Demoman, Apocalypse Military Base, this one was actually pretty sick, Hotshot Ace Pilot, Steampunk Ranger, Black Ops Millie Base, and 2 Pursuit skins, a tower which currently still has none, being the PMC and Prototype Pursuit. There was also the Noir skin, which was interesting because it was originally for the Crook Boss tower, and was eventually released, except significantly remodeled for an entirely different tower in Cowboy, which was strange. Chimera's, or Jace, also created a range of skins with more broad themes. There was the Cheerleader Commander, and another themed conceptual crate in the Phantom Crate, featuring skins for Ranger, Commander, Engineer, Gladiator, Sledger, and Toxic Gunner. I like this aesthetic a lot more than the Vigilante set, and again, I feel there's still a solid chance it eventually makes it into the game. There's also the Grand Mage Medic and the Frost Mortar, and of course they worked on the Frieza remake. Where is that? Lastly, they were also creating skins for a planned Neko Crate, including a Cat Mortar. Those are Nitro Booster leaks, so I'm not going to show the images. Although the number of unreleased skins is certainly impressive, it's hardly comparable to the massive number of maps, as there are over 20 teased unreleased maps made by Your Adversary. Hotspot, Unknown Garden, this one gives up a hardcore vibe. U-Turn, a Toy Board remake, 4 unnamed maps, a Deserted Village remake, Backwoods, Work in Progress City,